Hi, everyone. Thanks for clicking on this recording. Today, I wanted to talk about how I realized that my ex is a covert narcissist. Um, there were plenty of signs during the relationship that I saw, um, but for a couple different reasons, I didn't put two and two together, or I didn't want to put two and two together. Um, Again, it's hard to see a covert narcissist for who they really are because they're not the stereotypical what you think of when you think of a narcissist. They're not really grandiose or um, really big personalities, but it's a lot more insidious. So um, I was also in a brain fog for a lot of the relationship. Um, I was gaslit a lot, made to believe that I said and did things that I didn't do, and that really affected a lot of my judgment. Um, Also, this was my very first relationship. I'd never had a boyfriend before him. I still lived at my parents' house. I was 20 when we got together, and he was my first intimate partner. So I just assumed that this is how relationships were. But after I got out of the relationship and the brain fog, I was able to put the pieces together. And it started with confusion, really because of the discard. Um, about a week before the discard, looking back on it now, I can tell that he tried to get me to break up with him, so that he could go to his new supply without um, anyone kind of questioning what he was doing or how he had moved on so quickly. I think if he had gotten me to break up with him, then he could just say, oh, well, she broke up with me, so I am free to do this. But he was the one to discard me. Um, he, particularly that week, had triggered me into a really bad episode of reactive abuse, um, where he had pushed me to say things that don't even recognize who that person was, the things I said to him. Um, And in that fight, he had begged me to say the things. I remember him taunting me and begging for me to say what I said to him, a couple different things I said to him, because I think he knew that he was going to break up with me, and he wanted to get the last bit of um, decorum that I had from me to get some supply in a sick, twisted way. So the discard, like a lot of narcissistic relationship discards, they're very sudden. They already have new supply waiting for them. They move on quickly. Um, and so all of those things, of course, happened to me. And it was really confusing because I really did believe that he loved me. So when he discarded me super abruptly, very quickly, he had someone within 10 days of us um, being officially separated, but I know that this relationship had started before we were officially separated. That brought up a lot of confusion for me, um, but it also helped me to see that, oh, this is a covert narcissist, because normal people don't do this. And of course, this isn't just the only thing, but that the way that the discard happened, um, during the breakup, he was screaming at me. The narcissist dark black eyes, the demon eyes came out. Um, when he was yelling at me, I heard this like guttural growl that was really scary, um, because he knew that from past experiences in our relationship, whenever he would yell, that would immediately end the fight, because he's a big guy, and he has a deep voice, and it's like when a big dog barks, you get scared. So I think by yelling, he knew it would just end the fight, and that would be that. So the discard happened, and I didn't realize right away. I was still confused about the way he was acting. What made the confusion even worse is that he attempted to keep me on the hook even after the discard. He texted me saying, I still want to work on us. I just think we both need this time apart to be better. I still love you. I think we can come back and work on the relationship again after this time apart. We'll be stronger. I care about you a lot. I want what's best for you. He really wanted to keep me on the back burner. He wanted to keep me on the hook in case things didn't work out the way he wanted them to with the new supply. He said he still wanted to be friends. He said he wanted to spend my birthday with me. And that added to my confusion because once I later on confirmed, not just had the suspicion, but confirmed that he had already moved on with the new supply, I was thinking back to why would he say these things if he knew that he wanted to move on, and it was because he did want to move on because he had gotten all the supply he could from me. But he also wanted to keep his little safe haven with me. So then he started, after I went into no contact, which happened about 3 days after he left, he started to fish for supply. He also, I think, was confused by my no contact, so he tried to hack into my social media, and then he removed me from all of his social media, and then he texted my friends, saying that he felt bad for the way that he discarded me, and he wanted to reach out to me, but he wasn't sure about it. He showed up the day that he knew I was moving all of my things out of our shared apartment. After a week of being gone, he knew I was moving out, and I had previously set the boundary that I didn't want to see him or talk to him after the breakup for my own healing, and he showed up the day that I was moving out, and luckily my friends and I had taken a trip to my new place, and we had come back and we saw his car in the parking lot, and he was already upstairs in the apartment. So I had my friend text him, although it was tempting. I did kind of want to go up because I hadn't seen him in a week, and I still loved him at that point. I just knew deep down something was telling me that I shouldn't go near this person. And so I had my friend text him and say, hey, we're moving me out, and when I just want to know when you'll be out so we can continue. And he said the whole spiel again about how he felt so bad about everything. He just came by to see what still needed to be done, although he knew that I would be moving out that day. And I think he was trying to fish to see if he could get anything else out of me, to see if I would beg for him, or if I would cry, or if I would be angry at him. Any kind of emotional reaction like that is what he would have wanted, no matter what, anger, sadness, anything. So I'm so glad that I didn't react in that moment. Another thing that helped me to sort of understand or come to the acceptance that I was with a narcissist is I got out of the brain fog, which I was in during the whole relationship. And I confirmed through phone calls and bank statements that he had already moved on to the new supply 10 days. Well, again, like I said, probably while we were still together, but 10 days officially, I had proof that he had moved on to the new supply. And that helped me a lot too, to realize that I was dealing with a covert narcissist, because when you're in a relationship with somebody for 5 years and they move on so quickly, or they already had someone lined up, along with all of the other things that I saw before, during, and after the relationship, it made it make a lot more sense. And I feel like that really snapped me out of the rose-colored glasses and the brain fog. And after I confirmed the infidelity, I started to get a lot of painful flashbacks, and that brings me to hindsight being 2020, where while I was in that brain fog during the relationship, I experienced a lot of abuse, but I was always blamed for the abuse at the same time. So anytime that I would bring up something and I wanted to have a mature conversation about it, something in the relationship that I thought we could both work on, he would react by yelling, screaming, throwing things, slamming doors, slamming objects, breaking things. He would leave the apartment and then he would come back and he would cry and say, "I'm sorry, I'm really a hurt person. I'm a hurt individual. I just don't know how to," basically admit that he didn't know how to be healthy. But at the same time, even in that crying, he would blame me for starting the argument, quote unquote. And he would always exaggerate and say, "Why do you want to fight every single day? And why?" And he would redirect in the fights. I would bring something up and then he would bring up something else. And I would say, "Why don't you bring this up to me like I bring things up to you, instead of when we're already talking about something that I brought up?" But it was just a way to redirect, to blame, to gaslight. In the arguments, he would tell me that he reacted that way because I said something to him when I know that I didn't. And he even had me believing for a little bit that I said things that I know in my heart I didn't say, because I don't have memory problems with other people. But for some reason with him, I was always forgetting that I said something. But with family, with friends, with coworkers, that's not ever been an issue for me. So of course, with hindsight, you can look back and see all the blaming, you can see the gaslighting, you can see the abuse. Another funny instance that happened when we were together was I was in a class and we were talking about the dark triad test and the narcissistic personality inventory. And we both, my ex covert narc and I, both took it for fun. I scored in the normal range and he scored very high, which I think is out of 40, and he was like 28 or 29. And I was just shocked by that score, and I was justifying it, trying to justify it to him, saying, "Oh, maybe you just, didn't take the test right," or I don't even know how I justified that to myself, honestly, but I was trying to justify it for myself because I didn't want to accept that. At that point, I think we had been together for 4 years. I didn't want to accept that I was with a narcissist, even though a lot of the signs were there. Suicide threats, that was a big thing that he did because he knew that could get a reaction out of me. Name calling, shouting, threats every time to break up. Although he never did until he had the new supply lined up. Just a lot of things that come back to you, and the flashbacks, they're painful, but every time I get one, I write it down and I keep a note in my phone of these flashbacks that I've been having, because when you leave the relationship, you feel crazy during the relationship, of course, but even after, because it's hard to accept that you were with somebody like that for so long. But whenever I feel crazy or I feel like I can't trust my own judgment and intuition, even now, I mean, I feel like the brain fog is lifted, but I still feel sometimes like I can't trust myself. And I just look back through those notes in my notes app and I remind myself that there were signs there. There were signs before. There were signs during the love bombing stage when he was mirroring me and lying about little things that he said that he liked just because I said that I liked. Later on, I realized that he didn't actually like that. Same with dislikes. So it was there in the love bomb stage. It was there in the relationship, and it's there after. So hindsight really is 2020, and that was probably the discard and the hindsight were the two biggest things that helped me to come to terms with and realize that my ex was a covert narcissist. And I think that a lot of people that know him on a surface level through his job or any surface level relationship like that, they would think that I'm the crazy one because they don't see it. And it took me all of this time to see it, so I don't blame people that don't see it or are listening to the smear campaign that he's probably running on me. And I don't blame people for believing him because he is a charmer, and you would not have thought that he was a narcissist. But putting everything together now, just I can really see it. And I also don't care if anyone believes me because I need to believe myself first and foremost and validate my experiences and know that what I went through was real, and there's no reason other than that relationship that I felt so lost for the years that we were together, and I felt so bad about myself, and I slowly saw my self-esteem and my self-worth begin to chip away, and I became a reflection of my narcissist in many different ways. And I have been coming to terms with that and realizing that what I went through wasn't normal. And I'm working very hard every single day to heal from that traumatic experience. I'm in therapy. I have been working on my mental health by exercising, getting my dopamine and serotonin up with eating right and taking my vitamins and leaning on my support system. I was afraid that my ex-narc might try to get some supply out of me by coming to my place of work, which was a retail situation that anyone could just come to. And I have learned to not invalidate or trust my gut and my intuition anymore. And I just had this feeling that he was going to show up to rub the new supply in my face. And I wear a lot of my emotions on my sleeve and on my face, and I can't really hide how I'm feeling. So, although I loved my job, I couldn't give him that satisfaction. I can't give him any more satisfaction. I mean, I've blocked him on anything. There's no longer any ties to him. Our bank account and our phones are disconnected from each other. But I think that last tie was him knowing where I work, and I just had a feeling he was going to show up. So I think he's going to show up and realize that I don't work there anymore. because I did get a new job, and actually a really great job, and I'm making a lot more money. And I'm starting to rebuild my life and rebuild my self-confidence. And it all started from me realizing that my ex is a narcissist and that he can't be saved, and there's nothing more I can do for him. So that's it for this video. I think I kind of went on a rant at the end, or a little tangent, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.